Alright, well, good afternoon, folks. It is Nick Moldauer here, and today I am out fishing a pond, private pond, and I'm just looking for some panfish. I've been out here about 45 minutes, and I think I'm starting to get them patterned in here. They're relating to shallow water and the warmest water in the pond. Typical spring behavior. It's late April, and it has been a cold spring to boot. So they're definitely relating to that warmer water. Let's see if we can get a bite here. There's a fish right there. Let's see what we got here. I've been catching gills and crappie out at this pond. I'm thinking it's either a crappie or a bull gill or a bass. He's upset. Maybe it's a bass. Yeah, that's a big old bass. We're looking for panfish today. How about that though, folks? There's our first fish for the camera. Barely hooked him. Nice largemouth there. Now what I'm doing to find these fish, we've had a lot of rain too recently, and the water's pretty gummed up, pretty dirty. And to get their attention, I got a double jig rig going here with chartreuse on both. It is definitely the most standout color I've noticed just looking at it in the water there. And it gets me 2 little depths there. So yeah, that's what I'm using to find these fish, to get them to bite. We'll see if we can catch a crappie and a bluegill here tonight too. I'd like to show you some of these, but that's all I'm doing today. I did have a spinner on, and it was catching fish, but it's just so heavy, and I'm fishing really shallow water. These fish are relating to such shallow water that it was just, pardon me, got a snag here. It was just hitting bottom too fast, and I kind of want to work the water column a little more, so I had to ditch the underspin and just go to two simple bright chartreuse soft plastics. One I don't have with any weight on it, it's just a singular hook, and the other I have a jig head on. I'll show that to you again. So it's basically like a drop shot with 2 jigs. So I just have that one loaded up, just a single hook, and then I got a 32nd ounce jig head on this one. That's what I'm using. Great for finding fish. There's one. This is definitely a panfish. There we go. That's what I'm looking for, folks. Our spring panfish action. What do we got here? Crappie. There we go. A little fella, but it's a crappie all the same. There we go, folks. Nice little black crappie, and this pond has black crappie. I don't catch any whites out here. This pond is all black. Little fella. We'll get that jig back out there, that double jig rig. Fish in the warmer areas, and see if we can pull a couple more nice fish out of here. There's one. What do we got here, guys? Another crappie. Boy, these are all little guys. We might need to move on to another shallow area just to get a bit better quality in here. Still great eating size, fellas. I apologize if I had some wind cut in my earlier clips, I put a wind cut reducing microphone on, so hopefully that'll be a little better. Hopefully that'll work a little better for us, so you don't have to listen to the breeze. I know that's annoying in some of our videos. I apologize for that. Hopefully we can get into a nicer sized fish here, though. We're patient, and they're biting like that. It's bound to happen. That's a little better sized crappie. Ooh. There we go, folks. He's a little bigger. I'm trying to find some big bluegill for you, too. There's a little better one right there. Not bad. Beautiful black crappie. Have yourself a fish fry, some asparagus, and some morel mushrooms. Be a solid dinner. But we're just letting them go today. I'm just out here relaxing and enjoying the day. We've had a heck of a windy spring, and I've mentioned that before. It's just been unreal. I've never seen such a windy spring in my life, I don't believe. Every day it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds. So it's just nice to be out here on a more peaceful day, because it's been tough. How about this fishing, huh, guys? What's this here? I really want to catch a nice gill. Oh, there's a nice gill. That's what I'm talking about. He ain't massive, but boy, come here, buddy. He's got some spunk, that's for sure. Nice bluegill there. There's one for us, folks. I guess he's going back. Everything likes the double jig rig. Oh, I guess, I don't know, would you call it that? We got an empty hook here. It's just a plain hook and then a 32nd ounce right there. Both chartreuse, very visible even in this dirty water. That's what we're doing. And we're getting smacked pretty regularly. There's something. Getting on some different water here. There's a little better crappie, guys. And these fellas are biting so light. He crushed a little harder, but they are not biting hard at all. Looks like he's been hooked before. Just a little smack. Now, I'm not setting the hook on these fish. I'm letting them set the hook on themselves. If I set the hook on them, a lot of times I'll tear the hook right out of their mouth. And they'll just get away. There it is. He was mad. Racing out there. Get him around to this side. These are a little better fish over here. That's a blacker one. He's starting to get his colors. Well, I'm probably coming up on 20 now. They're just in that shallow water. It's just redundant at this point. Not a whole else lot to say. I'd be having a good fry if I was keeping them. Good stuff, a lot of fun. That's the deal with crappie. You find one, you find many. So once you find one fish, just stick around and see what they're doing. Try to figure them out where you find that first one. And more will very likely follow. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Nick Mulbauer here, and I am chatting to you guys from inside my home here, which I have not done before. But when I was on my trip on Tuesday, I didn't realize I didn't have any spare batteries along, so I wasn't able to film the rest of that trip. But I ended up catching probably over 100 crappie and bluegill mixed that day. I just kind of want to talk about and wrap up kind of how that day ended up going. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I fished this double jig rig the whole time, and I did not switch away from chartreuse. I just had chartreuse. That color was showing so well, and right now that gap between my two soft plastic swim baits is pretty small. Normally I'd have it more, probably around a foot. And you know, when the water is dirty, it just allows the possibility of more fish seeing two lures than one, so you're just covering more of that water column. So but you know what, a lot of those fish were being caught in no more than a foot or foot to 3 feet of water. So you know, this works just fine when you're fishing such a shallow column of water. So this worked just fine. I started off with my Bobby Garland lights out chartreuse and black with an underspin Roadrunner, I think they call these jig heads. And I wouldn't have switched away from it other than the fact that those fish were in such shallow water, and I think this is a 16th ounce jig head, and that's just that was just far too heavy to be fishing that in such shallow water. And I was just dredging bottom with it almost immediately. I was just burying my bottom jig into the dirt, into the mud, and I figured that's no good. I'm going to swap out, and I switched to that 32nd ounce and just kept my bare hook with a swim bait on there, and it just was a lot lighter. It didn't settle to the bottom so dang fast, and you know, I feel like this jig was more visible as well as this one, and instead of being buried into the silty bottom of that pond. But yeah, it was a fantastic day. It was a phenomenal day, and I went to a pond, a private pond, and you know, I guess you could consider that cheating, but a bit of knowledge can still go a long ways. I was able to pattern those fish almost immediately when I got out there because it's spring, and those fish were definitely gravitating towards that warm water. They're in the warmest water they could find in that pond, and getting ready to spawn. You know, it's coming up here real soon. Days are getting longer and warmer, and I fished that shallow, skinny, warm water. I looked for the warmest water I could find right off the bat, and I fished it and found those fish almost immediately. I went and circled the pond to other spots and fished those and was not getting bites. I'd get a bite or two, but like, it was just fire in those warm areas of that pond. There was just so many fish stacked up in that shallow water. The water was muddy. It was pretty dirty. The clarity was probably a foot or less, and that's why I broke out the chartreuse. Yeah, it was just a phenomenal day. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully we have a lot more fun coming up our way. It should be a good time. It should be a good time getting out this spring. So Ben and I always appreciate you guys watching our videos. It's a good time. It's a labor of love. We just love fishing, and I think we particularly like to pertain to folks in Iowa because it's not Wisconsin or Minnesota, and we don't have a lot of water, and the water is very different in Iowa than it is up there. We do not have naturally occurring bodies of water. They're reservoirs or sand quarries, and they fish a little different, in my opinion. Every body of water is different. So just trying to help folks be more familiar with the strategies they can use in Iowa. You know, it's very helpful because every locale is a little different, and the fish are all a little different in how they bite. So hopefully the videos we do are a bit helpful, and I hope you guys enjoy them. And I'm getting long-winded, so y'all take care, get out there and fish, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys.